we on? Okay, everybody. Felt like I've been gone forever. I've been, with this job and stuff. I work at a school. I'm a custodian. And sometimes I need to take some time just to focus on other things. I also focus on my other channel too, where I do my records, and I feel like I'm so far here, or so far back, but I want to be a little close here. So I know you folks have been waiting for me to do a video for quite some time, and I'm continuing on with, of course, my my CDs series. But I want to focus on an era of Bob Dylan. Now, I know I do a lot of Dylan stuff on here. You mean you're going to do another Bob Dylan video here? Well, I'm going to primarily, yes, I'm going to primarily focus on Dylan's late 60s into the early 70s period of his country, his marvelous period of 67 maybe, starting with Wesley Harding, maybe that's perhaps stretching, to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Really kind of bookends that country phase. And so pretty much like maybe perhaps that rootsy Dylan era. And then, after that was Planet Waves. Then he gets more into his, focusing a lot on his storytelling and basically about, really kind of going back to his stuff from like Bring It All Back Home and the Electric Trilogy. But that's what I'm going to be focusing on here. So like I said, I know I was stretching a little bit, starting with 1967. He had the motorcycle accident, and who knows what Dylan's career, or at least what his sound would have been. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have probably did the whole country thing. He would have probably did this album I'm going to show. And, stuff like Nashville Skyline. He would have probably for sure had not rolled in with the whole current stuff, like the psychedelic and the whole experimental thing. I mean, Dylan was never really saw that as kind of something he really wanted. Because he was a folk singer. He was, many people thought he was a spokesman of his generation and focusing a lot of the reality and the, breaking free from the norm and stuff. And then, and then of course the electric period with, how you fall in line with being brainwashed by current situations, whether it be political or rather it be something that you're dealing with, or maybe someone that you're dating. But I think really during the whole motorcycle, I felt like he was trying to reinvent himself. I feel like Dylan I feel like he always wanted to just not do the same and not try to mimic or try to do something twice. And I feel like with these albums, starting from John Wesley Harding all the way to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, he wanted to, he had such a, he had other things on his mind rather than being, I feel like he was listening to a lot of that, obviously, and that's why Dylan kind of offered Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower, and that's on this album here. So, who knows? The motorcycle accident really, maybe kind of getting himself back in gear and thinking of, all the things and stuff like that. And then obviously he was shortly after he recovered from all that, he was with the Hawks, and they started doing the Basement tape. I mean, this was at the time about the Basement tapes wasn't even a thing. It wasn't until '75, obviously, a decade later. Just I don't know how long, but yeah, 1975 was the Basement tapes. Now that was actually what the Hawks were supposed to play on. Worse, that they were going to be pitched to play on John Wesley Harding, but obviously Dylan didn't want that, and he rather had the guys that were playing on at least a few of the people that were on Blonde on Blonde. Like he wanted who's that guy? Kenny Butcher. He wanted him on there. He wanted Pete Drake. Like he wanted all these great Nashville players to play on John Wesley Harding. And definitely like the last track, I'll Be Your Baby Tonight, definitely has that sound of the next album, which is, of course, 2 years later, 1968, he didn't come out with anything. But I think Wesley Harding kind of was like in between, like it was 67, though it was mainly kind of more notarized for the fans and stuff and the listeners in 68. It mostly became a 68 album. And yeah, 1969, this right here is my favorite country period album from Dylan. It's perfect. It's like a little bit laid back. It's not all showism, and it's not all what Dylan did during his, at least during his Electric period, stuff like that. And even Wesley Harding wasn't all that, let's get serious, let's really make these songs very, let's make them so complex and whatever. And Wesley Harding and this album here weren't very complex at all. Very bare bones, very straight lace production. Now, Wesley Harding, however, primarily focused on a lot of just the biblical parables and stuff like that, referencing a lot of different, but the I'll Be Your Baby Tonight really was the sign of Dylan's new voice, So it starts off with Girl from the North Country with Johnny Cash, and Nashville Skyline Rag, which is just an instrumental with everybody on here. And I absolutely love Charlie Daniels. He is a great, and he was, because I know he passed away in the early part of this decade. He was such a great, talented guitarist. And so was people like, Charlie McCoy, played with everybody, but of course was definitely, you'll definitely notarize him, or you'll definitely notice him more playing on Dylan's albums, or at least this period here of Dylan from the late 60s. My favorite ones on here are definitely the hit Lay Lady Lay. I mean, that was of course pitched for Midnight Cowboy, and I like Threw It All Away. That was kind of like a hit that wasn't really as on the level as Lay Lady Lay. And I like the Oh Me Oh My, I Sure Love That Country Pie. Like, it's not like, what is it? What's that? It's not, and it's just not, it's not supposed to be like this greatest thing. Like this, again, it's not supposed to be like stuff from Highway 61. It's not Desolation Row. Like Dylan, he's just like, hey, I'm gonna, let's see how it goes. Like, I'm just gonna just flat out have fun. Not gonna take anything too serious here. And that's what he's doing here. And tonight I'll be staying here with you. I mean, just like the way Wesley Harding, with such a really nice, smooth ballad, and that's what he does here on Nashville Skyline. But of course, one of the albums that is a bit, has been bashed by most Dylan fans, and perhaps maybe on the fence on my end is Self-Portrait. Yeah, I mean, I think I take it what it is for Self-Portrait. It's got the Isle of Wight tracks that are actually quite interesting and quite enjoyable to listen to. But he's got like really good, I like Copper Kettle, and I like the song Wigwam. And the covers, obviously, they're really just on the fence. Like, they're not really like, I don't think they're not necessarily like great, but, and of course that was during the Nashville sessions as well. I think during that Self-Portrait period, and it was the beginning of the 70s. It was June 1970 when that came out. But towards the end of the year, or at least the fall of that year, is New Morning. Now, I think a lot of the Rolling Stone writers and stuff were like saying, yeah, if you see the front cover, if you look very, very, if you just really observe that album cover, focus on his face, however, you'll see that, yeah, you think Self-Portrait was bad for you? Well, this album is not going to disappoint you, not one bit. and it's actually a really good album. I actually really like New Morning, and even the title itself, New Morning, it's almost like yeah, you think Self-Portrait. I know some of you people were saying shit about that album, but you hear New Morning, it's going to totally make you not want to make you not turn this album off. And it's got like a wonderful opening track, which Olivia Newton-John did in 1971. If Not For You, Day of the Locusts. What a great song! I love Day of the Locusts. And some questionable ones like Winterlude. That was never. That's just Dylan being like, hey, whatever. I'm gonna be a little bit. That was just him being a little bit pretentious. But, and like I said, New Morning, what a great song. What does he say? Under the Sky of Blue or something like that? It's, on this new morning with you. Love the way he sings that. And Sign on the Window, what a great piano ballad that is. And Father of Night, which he kind of like recites or whatever. But yeah, I mean, New Morning is good. I like New Morning. So, so New Morning, then he has the, which I don't think it doesn't show on here, but the Dylan self-titled, what do they call it, the bootleg? It was like it was an unofficial released, the Dylan 1973. That was pretty good for what it was, but it was during the Self-Portrait stuff, and it has covers, a good numerous of covers and stuff. And Spanish is a Loving Tongue. That's probably my favorite on there, and Lily of the West. But this was the last one to kind of end that country phase of his, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which is actually not bad. I love the opening, Billy the Kid. That's definitely a great opening song to that album. And basically it was a soundtrack, to that movie that, Chris Christopherson was in. And that other famous, I can't think of the guy's name at the moment. But God, he was a legendary. He was in like How the West Was Won. He was in the Apple Dumpling Gang. I forget the guy's name. Shit. But anyways, and that's it. Definitely a very underrated, very maybe underappreciated period. Because I do read that sometimes a lot of people really makes them sick to their stomach when they hear like stuff from like Nashville Skyline, and especially Self-Portrait, and a lot of people are mixed on New Morning, but I really like that period from 67 to 73 from Dylan. And as much as I really like the other periods, obviously the very beginning of his early years, folk years, and then electric years, but yeah, not much love goes goes within those country albums. Anyways, folks, that's it. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.